Clowns. Some people love them. Some people can't stand to be in the same room as them. And for a surprising number of people, they're not just weird or annoying, they're downright terrifying. If you've ever felt uneasy around clowns or even had a strong reaction, like wanting to run the other way, you're definitely not alone. There's actually a name for it. It's called coulrophobia, which is the intense fear of clowns. And although it sounds like a joke, for some people, it's a very real and very intense fear. So in today's video, I want to talk about where that comes from, what's going on beneath the surface, and why clowns, of all things, can stir up such strong reactions. Now, one of the things you may not know about me is that I'm actually kind of an expert on fear of clowns. At least I've been quoted in numerous articles over the years about this topic, and whenever something comes up regarding fear of clowns, I usually get at least one or two news organizations reaching out to me for quotes. If you search up my name and fear of clowns, you'll find a lot of these articles. It's not what I ever imagined that I would be famous for, but I guess it's better than nothing. So, with that, let's start talking about fear of clowns. So, I want to start with the obvious. Clowns are supposed to be funny. They're entertainers. They show up at birthday parties. They do goofy tricks. They're supposed to make kids laugh. But somewhere along the line, something shifted. They started showing up in horror movies. People started finding them creepy instead of funny. And suddenly, that happy face wasn't so harmless anymore. And one of the big reasons for that has to do with how clowns look. Their faces are typically covered in heavy makeup, big red lips, exaggerated eyebrows, wide eyes, huge painted on smiles. But the thing is, all of that paint hides what the person underneath is actually feeling. You can't tell if they're happy or annoyed, calm or angry. And that emotional mismatch, the fact that their face is stuck in a permanent smile, but we know that no one is always happy, that throws people off. As humans, we're constantly scanning other people's faces for information. And when we can't get a clear read on what's going on, our brain can get a little uneasy. And with clowns, that happens a lot. There's also something that we call the uncanny valley. And it's the idea that when something looks almost human, but not quite, it makes us uncomfortable. Dolls fall into this category, and clowns can fall into that category for some people. They're obviously human, but everything about them is just a little off. The makeup, the wig, the exaggerated gestures, it can make them feel strange or even unsettling. And if your brain is already picking up on something that feels off, the rest of your body tends to follow with a sense of tension or unease. And then there's clown behavior. Clowns often act in ways that are deliberately chaotic. They pop out of nowhere. They honk horns. They pretend to trip and fall or do something over the top for a laugh. They squirt you with water from the flower on their lapel. It's all unpredictable. And for a lot of people, that unpredictability feels less like comedy and more like a threat. We're wired to feel safer when we know what to expect. And when someone acts in a way that breaks social norms, even in a playful way, it can be hard to relax around them. For some people, though, it goes way beyond discomfort. We're talking about a true phobia, panic, sweating, racing heart, maybe even the need to run away. And that reaction can start pretty early in life. Maybe it's a scary clown costume at a birthday party, or a creepy image in a movie, or just an experience where a clown got a little too close. Our brain registers that situation as threatening and it locks that in. And from then on, clowns equal danger. And every future clown encounter just reinforces that. And then there's the role of media, and media plays a big role in this fear of clowns. Over the past few decades, we've seen a lot of creepy clowns in pop culture. Pennywise from the movie It, the Joker, even creepy clown dolls in horror movies. They've turned clowns into symbols of danger and unpredictability. So even if you haven't had a personal bad experience with a clown, just seeing those images over and over and over again can plant the idea that clowns are something to be afraid of. There was actually a study that looked at how kids responded to clown imagery in hospitals. And some hospitals had decorated the pediatric wards with clown pictures, thinking that it would cheer the kids up. But what they found was it totally backfired. A lot of the kids found the clowns disturbing, not funny, not comforting. Even in that context, where the clowns were meant to be friendly, the reaction was still negative. So it's clear that the fear isn't just about horror movies. There's something deeper going on. And part of it may be rooted in the clown's role in society. Historically, clowns, jesters, fools, they were meant to be outsiders. They were the ones who broke the rules. They made fun of authority. They acted out, and they got away with it. They're meant to be unpredictable. And while that's entertaining on one level, it also means they sit in this strange space where you're never quite sure what they're going to do next. And that unpredictability, again, plays right into our sense of caution and fear. Now, just want to be clear. Not everyone who dislikes clowns has a phobia. There's a difference between finding something creepy and having a true diagnosable fear. But when the fear is strong enough that it starts to get in the way, you start avoiding events, have trouble watching certain shows, or feeling anxious just thinking about clowns, that's where it then might fall into phobia territory. And like most phobias, the fear of clown phobia is treatable, primarily through exposure-based cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a treatment that works really well for phobias. The idea is to help people gradually face what they're afraid of while learning new ways to think about the fear and to manage the anxiety that comes with it. It's not about throwing someone into a room full of clowns and saying, hey, good luck. It's more of a gradual, step by step process that builds confidence over time. But even for people who don't need treatment, I think the fear of clowns tells us something important about how we process emotion, identity, and trust. We rely on people's faces to give us information. And when that's taken away, when someone's expression is painted on or exaggerated or fake, we get uneasy. When their behavior doesn't match the situation, we get even more uneasy. And when pop culture keeps telling us that these characters are secretly dangerous or unstable, it reinforces that unease even further. So if you've ever been creeped out by a clown, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. In fact, there's some pretty solid psychological reasons behind it. And if you're interested in learning more about how cognitive behavioral therapy can help people overcome things like anxiety and phobias, I'd encourage you to check out this video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.